classifying the Carter-Page FISA documents and other relevant Russian records. In a move likely to rattle Democrats, and with the backing of newly appointed interim Attorney General Matthew Whitaker, President Trump says the release of the FISA documents will prove that the Obama administration illegally wiretapped his campaign in 2016 in order to attempt to rig the election. According to President Trump, we're looking at that very seriously in declassifying this immediately. It's amazing how people on the other side just don't want those documents declassified. Congressional members, some who have clearance to see the documents, say no sources or methods would be exposed if they were declassified, but that they believe it would expose extensive evidence of abuse by the Bureau of the secretive Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court. And according to House Intel Chairman Devin Nunes, there is exculpatory evidence in the 20 redacted pages of the FISA documents that we have already seen. The president must declassify all the Carter-Page FISA documents and pertinent Russian records before the Democrats officially take the House over in January of 2019.
If there was a spy, though, what does that mean for Fusion GPS?
Well,
or for Christopher Steele?
Well, I think what it really means, I think it will look badly on the Department of Justice and the FBI on how they conducted this investigation.
Right.
That's what we're trying to get to the bottom of. We're trying to put clarity and sunlight for the American people so they know everything that happened on how this investigation began.
It kind of sounds as if your congressional investigators got the information regarding this secret source, it sounds like that might call into question the narrative we've heard so far. It's like, oh, really? It didn't happen like that at all.
Well, I think if the campaign was somehow set up, I think that would be a problem, right? If there were somehow meetings that occurred and all this was a setup, because we have yet to see any credible evidence or intelligence that led to the opening of this investigation.
By you saying that, it makes it sound like you believe Donald Trump was framed.
So look, I believe that they didn't have that. Well, first of all, I believe they never should have opened a counterintelligence investigation into a political party. Counterintelligence investigations are very rarely do they happen, and when they do happen,
right,
you have to be very careful because you're using the tools of our intelligence services and relationships with other countries in order to spy on a political campaign. Probably not a good idea.
Well, because what's come out now, Maria, is that he has been the go-between Christopher Steele. So once Christopher Steele was terminated as a source for doing all things like talking to the media at the behest of Glenn Simpson. So remember, he was working for Glenn Simpson, Fusion GPS, who were working for the Clinton campaign. Christopher Steele was fired. A lot of this information wasn't shared with the FISA court, especially the fact that Christopher Steele was desperate that Donald Trump not become president. After that happened, Bruce Orr, one of the top lawyers in the Department of Justice, kept continually meeting and providing information from Christopher Steele to who? The FBI. This is just madness. The American people need to know it. And I will tell you, like I said in the last segment, the fact that the media is ignoring this is even more of a reason that we're going to have more information than usual declassified. We're going to have, I think, an unprecedented amount of information declassified because the media is just not covering this topic. And I'll just kind of close it with this. Don't forget that Bruce Orr's wife, Nellie Orr, who also will have to be interviewed soon, she also was working for Fusion GPS, working for the Clinton campaign. So here you have information flowing from the Clinton campaign, from the Russians, likely I believe was handed directly from Russian propaganda arms to the Clinton campaign, fed into the top levels of the FBI and Department of Justice to open up a counterintelligence investigation into a political campaign that is now polluted nearly every top official at the DOJ and FBI over the course of the last couple of years.
Well, that is what is so extraordinary.
Amazing. And quite frankly, it's what you kind of see in this part of the world where I'm at now.
Right. I mean, the president has said maybe he would declassify this. What's wrong with declassifying all of this information so the American people understand exactly what took place? Because you're right. This is an incredible story, and that is why we are doing it every Sunday morning to make sure the American people are informed as far as what went on. Do you think the president will declassify this so that people understand what took place?
I think he really has no choice because I will tell you, you're gonna end up with a situation with half of America, including nearly every Republican member of Congress, who will have zero confidence in the Department of Justice and FBI. And that just can't be. We have to have a strong Department of Justice and a strong FBI that stays out of politics. And if we don't get that soon, I think it's just going to continue to deteriorate. Well, and I think it's like the Speaker of the House, Paul Ryan, said several months ago, is the Department of Justice and FBI need to decide whether or not they want to be part of the cleanup crew or the cover-up crew. And so right now, I just want to be clear, they are providing slowly, but they are providing documentation. But we're going to have all of this information declassified, and we need an investigation into these top-level people as to how somebody concocted the idea that it's okay to take information from one political campaign and use it to open up an investigation on the other on somebody else's opposing political party.
Right.
It's absolutely nuts.
And you've said many times on this program that there was zero evidence, official evidence, available to launch an investigation into collusion between Donald Trump and the Russians. There was no evidence. It was all based on that unverified dossier. Real quick, I'll go one step further in terms of trusting the FBI and the DOJ again. That's not going to happen until there is accountability. Will there be accountability? Will we see prosecutions?
The only way there can be accountability is one step at a time, and it deals with full and complete transparency, full sunlight on as many of the documents that don't endanger national security. Which, from our committee members, we've sent a letter to the president. We don't believe that you're going to jeopardize any sources or methods. And I think people, like I've said many times, are going to be shocked as to what went into a FISA warrant against Carter Page, and even more importantly, what did not go into the FISA application. It was not presented to the court involving the information that they had on Carter Page.
All right.
Very concerning, not a way to run a counterintelligence system in the United States or any country for that matter.
It's an extraordinary situation. It's amazing that this took place in America.
Yeah, we're not going to be threatened by the Democrats. I mean, look, they're the ones that have all this blood on their hands. They're the ones who have completely destroyed the FBI and DOJ. How did they do that? They did that by digging up dirt. The Clinton campaign dug up dirt, put it into a dossier, fed it into the FBI, and the FBI used our counterintelligence capabilities against a political campaign. That's what happened here. So the Democrats in the House and the Senate, they've continued to want to obfuscate. They've continued to want to cover up. If it was we listened to the Democrats, we would have never even found out that the Democrats and Hillary Clinton paid Christopher Steele to generate this dirt on President Trump. So I tend to ignore everything that they say. We continue to do our work day in and day out to get to the truth. And gradually we're getting to the truth. And I believe as these hearings take place and testimony is given to the Congress, I think it will be a much needed sunlight in this investigation. I think the American people will begin to see who's telling the truth and who's not telling the truth.
Well, Congressman, I think we all want it in open session. I mean, a lot of people are getting tired of this closed session deal where the American people are kept in the dark and then people come out and somehow mysteriously we hear kind of little bits and pieces about what happens or the flavor of what happened behind closed doors. Would someone like a Victoria Nuland, other Obama State Department people, and maybe even that Joseph Pietka, who interviewed Michael Flynn, he could, sources tell me he could be a potential whistleblower to tell what he actually understood in that interview, namely, reportedly, that Michael Flynn did not lie.
I agree with you 100%. Yeah, I agree with you 100%. And that's partly why I am sending these names over to the Judiciary and Oversight Committee because they already have a task force. The task force has been convened. They should be able to do all of these hearings in the public, full transparency, so that people can watch on live television. That is my recommendation to the committee chairman. I believe they will follow that recommendation, and they may have other names. So far, we've sent them the 17 plus the 10. It's 27 names we've sent them. We will be sending them more names here later this week.
All right, Congressman, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We really appreciate it.